What up? What up? Welcome back. It's 2023. We're officially naming this the Rob and Eritrea Show. It's going to be on the Diabetics Doing Things feed. It's going to be part of the Diabetics Doing Things podcast, but it's going to be Rob and Eritrea, us just doing what we do. It's going to make this a little bit more personal. It's going to make it a little bit more consistent in terms of like time. So we're recording this February 2nd, 2023. So if you're listening through and starting from the beginning, here we are, February 2023. And Eritrea is here with me. What's going on?
It's so exciting. I can't believe I have my own show now. Who would have thought as I came in as a small time content creator and look at me now, a big dog. I'm just kidding.
Podcast
But
producer life.
it's it has been fun though. It's been a crazy couple of years and we're kicking off 2023 in such a big way. And gosh, I'm just excited. I'm super excited.
I'm excited too. And I think one of the things as we've been getting a little bit more disciplined about Diabetics Doing Things, the business, one of the things that we take really seriously is how many people listen to this feed and how many people listen to this pod. And so we want to deliver more entertaining, more informational, better content for you more consistently. And consistency is one of my themes for the year and things that I'm trying to work on in my own life. So it only makes sense that we add it to this feed. So we're coming at you right now in a very cold, sort of defrosting Dallas Fort Worth. I've left my house since Monday, so it's actually I left the house for the first time today to run to the store really quick. But man, it has been a gray, cold, and icy week here in Dallas, Texas, or as Eritrea calls it, Dalaska.
I hate this. I First of all, I'm a Leo. I like to talk about horoscopes and the sun is just for me. So coming back, I just got back from Cancun. So coming back to this nastiness is just not the vibe. Also, all my girlies out there whose nail appointments, lash appointments, hair appointments got canceled this week. I feel you, sis, because I am a gremlin right now. So I just need this all to clear up so that I can go back to being my bad bee self because this is not the vibe.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't even think about or consider. So yeah, I feel you. I stand with you in solidarity, all you ladies who had your appointments canceled all week. Very tough.
Terrible, just terrible, as they say. But this is our first pod recording of 2022, cold as it may be. And as we're looking back on 22, I guess I was just thinking earlier today, like, I want to know what your favorite moment last year was, Rob. Like, we didn't really sum up the year at the end, kind of, and we just had so many cool things happen. So I was like, what was Rob's favorite DDT moment in 22?
Man, 2022 was interesting because we did a lot of new things and we did sort of a lot of experimenting and exploring. The zine was pretty amazing. And actually, recently, one of the photographers who worked on the project with us, Al, so shout out Al, but he sent me a screenshot of a Nike ad with Charlotte and her partner in the creative. So Nike has them in the creative. So it was cool to see two people that we did a photo shoot with for Diabetics Doing Things who are now in a Nike spot. So that was pretty cool to see. Um, but also, I think I couldn't pick a favorite without talking about North Texas Food Bank and being able to impact people who are very often forgotten, seniors, food insecure folks who are living not just in DFW but all around North Texas. And that has sort of given me a new lens, a new appreciation for some of the little things that we do here in the diabetes community that can really impact people who are very much overlooked or forgotten or just need simple practical applications, practical solutions for their diabetes. And so that has really informed the next iteration. Here we are in year 7 of Diabetics Doing Things, or year going on year 8. So I don't know. I feel like those are two. If I had to pick one, I'd pick North Texas Food Bank, but the zine definitely has a special place in my heart. It was a lot of words, a lot of design. Shout out to Madison Copeland for designing that and for all of our contributors and everybody who was part of it. It was a huge, huge project. And the reason that we haven't done another one is because I just haven't had the capacity. But really, really loved it. And I went back and revisited it the other day. It's still great, still cool. And looking forward to doing more things like that here in the future.
The zine is high up there. I don't know. It was such an undertaking that maybe my mind is protecting me from it because I was just like, "Oh, we did that last year?" Like, "Oh my gosh." That was a big moment. The JDRF walk we did here in Dallas was so cool. All the people we met. I think that was my favorite moment is like watching all the boys come up and be like, "I wanna meet Rob Howe." Like, ugh, just a little fan club. So I love it when we get to do in-person things and maybe that's something we'll talk about more. We'll be doing in 23.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is, in this pandemic era, in-person events are coming back sort of at scale, slowly over the past couple of years, but they seem to be at least like more regular in 2023. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm coming back to public speaking. So I'll be in North Carolina at the end of this month in Greensboro at the JDRF North Carolina chapter. I actually got an email from them today. That event is sold out. So that's cool. We
Oh
got
my god.
people are excited to come back to in-person events. So that's great. Really, really
I mean,
excited.
I'm sure you being there is a big highlight for them also, like in person. And we'll get more into the tea about that as now we've looked into the past. I want to gaze into the future. And we have a lot in store for our listeners and fans. But my favorite is the tea. So Rob, spill it. What is happening in 2023? What can we expect this year?
Yeah, I wish I had more like goss or like hot tea for you guys to spill, but we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Ashley has been a tremendous addition to our team in the past year, and we're really working like right now. Eritrea and I are looking at Notion, where we've got this whole big Notion board built out with all of our notes in it and all of our guests in it. So I'm looking at some of the guests that are coming up on the podcast. I'm extremely excited about the stories that they're going to tell. Again, everything comes back to so many of you listen to this podcast and have for many years. And we just want to do right by you and continue to bring amazing content and amazing stories and even everyday victories. So talking with people who have been on the podcast before, there's a couple guests who are going to be returning. There's a couple of guests who I've talked to for a number of years about coming on the show who are finally coming on the show. So keep it locked here on this feed. We're going to be bringing you amazing interviews with really, really awesome people with diabetes. And then the other thing is just kind of transformation and evolution. So digging into the drip a little bit more and changing our email platforms and really deciding what that is. And, I think the reveal of what is the drip, I think it's just the ultimate lifestyle newsletter with diabetes, the ultimate diabetes lifestyle newsletter. And it's from Diabetics Doing Things. It's from me and from our team. So really digging into what that looks like and evolving that as well. So you're also going to be seeing a lot more clips from this podcast and from the feed. So you might have already, if you're following us on Instagram and in our, sort of top group, we've published like 6 or 7 reels in the past week. We're going to continue to do that. We've got a team member from the diabetes community who's our video editor, Corey. A shout out to Corey for all the work behind the scenes there. So we're producing more content. We're digging deeper into these topics and really just trying to, evolve and change with the times, but also sort of selectively do less. And so we're going to be staying focused more on what we can do, and the things that are maybe distracting, we maybe will put on the back burner, or, some opportunities we will probably turn down. And, one of the nice things about, podcasting is continuing to be more popular is there's more podcasts popping up every day. And we've been doing that for a long time. So we're going to focus on really digging into the podcast, the newsletter, the drip, and the Instagram. So that's kind of our big 3, and just doing our best to stay focused on that as much as possible.
Sounds like the word of 2023 is going to be consistency for us, Rob.
I will receive that. I'm telling you, I need that. We could all do a little bit more consistency. I'm journaling, got my journal here, doing all the things like doing the ice baths, all the exercise, really making sure that I'm measuring and keeping track of the things that are good for us.
Oh my god. I'm so glad you brought up ice baths. I have questions about that. You're a crazy person. But while we're talking about the new year and new year, same Rob, in my opinion, so same
Okay.
consistent
Same. Yep.
Rob. I always think the beginning of the year is really funny because you just had your diversity. Mine's coming up. You just had your 18th year
Hmm.
diversity, and mine is 21. So both of our diabetes are some grown kids here.
Wow.
I
18 and
know.
21. How fun.
Isn't it like 18, you can buy cigarettes, 21, you can get alcohol? I was just like, "Oh, look at us, so cute." Somehow, though, we're still always constantly learning new things, it feels like. Have you learned anything in this past month since your solo episode?
Since the solo episode, no, I don't think so. Are you setting me up for this? Seems like a setup question. What have I learned about my diabetes? I don't know. I think I really learned that this is a process of ongoing improvement, and I think like just when you think you have diabetes figured out, you'll guarantee there'll be a curveball in there. So I guess I'm just anxiously awaiting my next curveball, maybe.
It's like
That's where
ready
I'm
for
at.
the
Like, you
shoe to
know
drop.
you know, I think the things that I'm learning the most now you got me. Now you got me dialed in. I'm ready for it now. So I'm learning about the things that are not related to my diabetes that affect my diabetes. And, there's a lot of conversations around metabolic health outside of the diabetes community. One of the things that I think that we are, you know, fortunate to be able to monitor is we're looking at our blood sugar every minute of every day. For the average person, they're not even thinking about that. That's not in their top 1,000 things that they're thinking about. And as a result, we have a unique lens to our overall health and our overall metabolic health. So for me, it's movement, it's hydration, it's sleep. If I can do those really well, I'm going to be in my diabetes is going to be in better shape. And I used to think, I used to look at it like with judgment about my diabetes acting up if I didn't get enough sleep and I knew my blood sugars were going to be crazy. Little did I know that had nothing to do with my diabetes. That just has to do with my sleep. So same thing with movement. If I don't exercise, it's like, oh, my diabetes is going to act up. But it's like, no, my diabetes is just part of my overall health, and exercise is good for me. So I think I'm just kind of looking at my diabetes without judgment and approaching my overall metabolic, holistic health and wellness as something that's sort of just a non-negotiable for me. And I've learned that about myself. I love to optimize. I love to be my best self, and the things that I need to do to be that person and to be my best self are sleep, movement, and hydration.
Getting
Boring.
to know you getting to know everything about you is what it sounds like. I want to plug your episode here. If you want a full breakdown of what Rob's learned in the last 18 years of having diabetes, go back one episode and listen to Rob's breakdown. I think it's episode 219. Check it out, and you can get more information on all the wisdom that Rob Howe has to share about 18 years living with diabetes. I love, though, that we are just segueing away to talking more and getting deep into a diabetes Rob breakdown. You Okay, so you took a break from the pump last year and you were using some other technology that I remember you really enjoyed because you could see how much insulin was on board, and now you're back on your pump. How's that been?
I think I talked about this in episode 219, the last episode. I am a pumper. That's what really resonates with me. But it was nice to take a break. And I was on the InPen from Medtronic, and it has the app. It gives you all the data that you get with a pump, insulin on board, all that stuff, carb calculator. Really nice. So I think for people on MDI today, on multiple daily injections, if you have the option, if you can, I would go into something that allows you to have that data because it's a game changer. It's really nice. Um, so going back, I had my A1C done. I would say like I was very much living manual mode. I was kind of just going off vibes with, the CGM and the multiple daily injections. I was thinking less about diabetes, and that was cool. That was nice, a nice break. And now back on the pump, I'm thinking about it a little bit more, but I feel like my control is tighter, and I just am a pumper. That's what resonates with me. So I had my A1C. It was my highest A1C in a while, but it was only 6.6, and with the amount of thinking that I was doing, which was very little about my diabetes during the time off of the pump, I was happy with that result. And just good to know that even just going off vibes and going a little bit more manual, I still have it dialed in. And my diabetes, I was able to manage it. So that was cool. But I think also getting into, and we're going to be talking about this a lot more very soon, the extended wear infusion set from Medtronic. So it's 7 days now. So really on average going like 4 site changes a month compared to maybe 8 or 10 is a huge difference, and I underestimated what that was gonna be like, and that has been a really good adjustment for me, and I'm really happy with it. So, that's kinda my, like, diabetes update, from transitioning back to full-time pumping. But recently, my levels had changed a little bit, or my, like, ratios had changed from going back on the pump, so from my time on injections. So, I did a little insulin sensitivity test, and I, like, documented the whole thing, which is very unlike me. I'm very, like, I just, like, try to go things off of feel, but, like, I'm trying to document things, be more consistent so this theme continues to come on. So, right before my meal, I was, like, 109 on my sensor glucose. My blood glucose was 115, so, like, right dialed in, and I had just done some light stretching, and so then I ate dinner, and I measured everything. We were having Bonza mac and cheese, so basically I did my, like, subtracted my fiber, added in my protein and gave myself my, like, dosage. So basically, ultimately, like, I went through and I needed to, like, change my carb ratios. So, Like I adjusted my carb ratio. It was like, originally like too high. So I lowered it. So my carb ratio ended up being like 17 carbs for 1 unit of insulin. And I had it was more like 12, I think, on my setting. So I was able to dial it back up. And I haven't had as many lows since I've done that. So I would encourage you guys, like, obviously work with your doctor and like don't do this on your own necessarily, but uh I think it's good to test to make sure that your ratios are still up to date from time to time. So especially like if they need to be adjusted, right? Like if you're constantly tweaking your insulin dosage down, it's probably good to just like go and adjust your carb ratios. So yeah, I don't know. I see you pointing. So that I've
That's
been
so
talking a lot.
funny.
Yeah.
No, I do the same. I've been doing the same thing recently, and we'll talk about it more when I get into my Mounjaro stuff, but, like, my insulin sensitivity went up, so I'm less insulin resistant, and so I noticed I was having a bunch of lows, and I was like, "I've been on the same carb ratio since I was 13 years old." Like,
Mhm.
that's something that like, I'm 30 now, so, like, making that adjustment with my endocrinologist and realizing, like, I shouldn't if I know how many carbs there are in something, like, I know this has 40 carbs and I'm dosing myself for 25, like, something is
Right.
off here, so, yeah, it just resonates a lot with me and what I've also recently been going through, so that's cool.
I think it's important though, you are part of your technology.
Mhm.
So you are the user. And while you're on Control IQ and I'm on Medtronic Smart Guard Auto mode, you are part of it. So don't try to outthink it. Just update, keep it up to date, be an active participant in your diabetes management. And I think sometimes it's really easy to kick the can down the road. Like people with diabetes are the worst about it too. I feel like if your sensor expires, like maybe you'll just like wait a day or two before you change it, or push in the site change to the max or whatever the case may be. Like just take that second and adjust those ratios. Be curious about it and see if that changes. So yeah, really interesting stuff.
I love getting into your diabetes breakdown stuff. A few months ago, you gave us a full breakdown with your stack and everything that you were taking, supplements, powders. You do the most. You be
I
doing
do
the
a lot,
most.
yeah.
So have you made any changes or updates since then?
Very few. I added in I think at that point, I don't think I had just started taking the magnesium 3 and 8, so I'm still taking that. I started taking another momentous supplement, Huberman Lab, like, hormone stack, so it was, like, the male version, so it's, like, not testosterone, but it's, like, testosterone adjacent stuff, so I'm taking the momentous Huberman male hormone pack. So that, although it's now sold out, so my renewal of my, like so I'm not taking it right this second because 'cause I'm out of it, but anyway, I've liked that. And then I also had been taking like a Four Sigmatic mushroom mix, and I stopped taking that in the morning, and so I'm just on the athletic greens now. So I was finding that that was just making me like too focused and like too, I don't know, people were described the side effects as kind of like Adderall adjacent, like way too like tunneled in. And I was like, maybe I could do without this for a little while. So I cycle on enough of those on the mushrooms for a while, which is great because The Last of Us, for those of you who are watching The Last of Us, is like mushrooms take over the world. So, maybe I'm doing my part for that. Maybe there's a little bit of that in there too. So I'm a little bit off of the mushrooms right now.
I can't imagine a more dialed in Rob. I don't know if I would be able to handle that. Sounds very
It's
intense.
very intense. Yeah, and it's too intense even for me. So that lets you know kind of how it is. So apologies to all my coworkers and peers for when I'm too tunneled in.
As we're talking about your breakdowns and the things that you're doing, things you're not doing, and keeping up with your hydration and everything else, are you cold plunging in the middle of Alaska, sir? Are you outside in this
I
30
have
degree weather?
So I did cold plunge on Monday before it was raining. So I have been cold plunging in the cold, but it's been really wet and icy. We thought about doing it, but then like I had to go back and say, like, Rob, why are we doing this? Are we doing this for the views? Are we feeding the algorithm? Like, does this serve us at all? So I'll answer that question by saying I am cold plunging. I have not done it this week in the ice cold because, again, like, why am I doing this? But one thing I have noticed is that cold plunging as a whole is up right now. Like, people are talking about it. Kristen Bell did a video. I did the duet with her.
Mhm.
Someone commented, said the cold never bothered her anyway, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the perfect comment of all the comments. That was my favorite." But cold plunging is in the zeitgeist, in the cultural zeitgeist, and have always been a big proponent of it ever since I was a kid. My parents made me jump in the pool when it was cold. We used to do like the hot cold therapy. My parents one time went to a spa together, like before we were all born, and discovered like, they heat you up in the sauna, then they throw you in the cold plunge. So shout out to the spa for being ahead of their time. But cold plunging's always been a part of my stack. I'm very fortunate. I've got my Renew Therapy cold plunge in my backyard. So I'm out there. I'm out there doing it. We'll get you on the cold plunge next time we do the pod here at the house. But yeah, I'm doing it in the winter. It sucks to do when it's cold outside, but I'm doing it because I'm doing hard things. That's part of my 2023, doing the hard things, meeting them head on, and cold plunging is part of that. So once it actually like dries up outside, and like I'll go back and do it again. But yeah, I had to hit a couple like manual, like cold showers, just like the primitive cold plunge. Just the cold shower this week I've done.
Oh my god. Okay, so first of all, I can't believe you are influencing me still to jump. But you know what? If your mom can do it, which I know she's done it, I can do it. So it will be done. We'll have
I don't know.
to.
I will tell you, Anita Howe is not a good comparison for somebody. Like, do not compare yourself to her. That is a risk because she is a nut. She like you guys think I'm crazy. I get it from my mom. She's the foundation. She's my rock.
Oh my gosh. Well, because Erica done it.
Mhm. Erica does it.
Okay, then.
Erica does not like it, but she has done it. Erica learned from, she got inspired by my mom too, but she now knows like Anita Howe is not to be trifled with. She is a woman of major substance. So cold does not bother her.
Maybe we can do it for our Women's History March episode, you know?
Ooh, now we're talking.
That
I
would
love it.
there you go. I can challenge myself because I'm one of those women that takes, like, hot from the hell, like, showers, like, hot as it can be. So, ugh, that's
Well,
terrifying.
hot feels good. Hot is good. Also for diabetes, like we know that can help you with your insulin sensitivity. If you've got like a stubborn high or something like that, got some insulin on board, getting warm, getting in the sauna. Although sometimes sauna makes people go high because diabetes is different for everybody. But hot feels good, cold is good.
Ah.
It's a really tough thing. So I'm going to continue to be. This is my gospel. This is my Bible. Cold is my stuff. I'm going to be preaching that cold gospel all year long into my later podcast years. So yeah, you guys can trust that. You also had, and I've been taking a lot of time on this segment, but I will say as we shift away from cold and talk about Eritrea's diabetes, I am back on the public speaking circuit. I am excited. I'm debuting a new talk called The Dichotomy of Diabetes, where we talk about how both things about diabetes can be true. You can live the life you want as long as you manage your diabetes, but also that's not true for everyone. And, I feel at this place in my life, in this position that I've come into in the diabetes community, I feel like it's important for me to represent people who the generic kind of like headlines of diabetes don't apply to, and the people who truly are disabled by their diabetes and can't be who they were before. I don't want to forget about those people. Those people are part of our diabetes community, and I want everybody to know that there are uh, the duality of diabetes is like both things can be true. You can chase your dreams, but also diabetes may take some of those dreams away. And I want to make sure that we're kind of looking at the whole person and addressing all of that together. So that's
I
my
love
that's my update.
the inclusivity of it all. No, it's beautiful. And then you talk about a lot. Plugging again, 219, great episode. You talk about a lot there. So it's definitely worth
I
the
think about it a
listen.
lot. I think about it a lot. And I also don't, I want to address my role in it too. Like I believed it and I contributed to it, and I still believe it's possible for some people. So that's where I come back to like there really are no absolutes, especially not in diabetes. There is no one way. There is no one solution, and the duality and dichotomy of it is something that I just have been thinking about and dwelling on, quite a bit.
I mean, it's definitely not one size fits all. I think sometimes even on this podcast, we'll talk about similar experiences that we both have that are just on opposite sides of the spectrum because things every day with diabetes is a different type of day, which is what I've been learning a lot of recently.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it because like you just had your first endocrinologist visit in A1C, like since you got on Control IQ.
Yeah, so I went to the endocrinologist in December because, girlies, I forgot to go to the endocrinologist and they were not going to refill my supplies before the end of the year. They're like, you have to go to the endocrinologist once every 6 months. And I was like, why? There is no cure for diabetes. I just don't get it. So I got my stuff. I went to see my endo. She came in and she was so excited because my A1C was 6.2. And the last time I was in the office, I'm someone who I think like you was kind of an overachiever kid. So when I don't get that A plus, when I get more than a 7 A1C, I am very sad and just like disappointed with myself, which is weird and something I'm dealing with in therapy, of course. But having a 6.2 A1C on Control IQ has been really great, especially because I haven't had those terrifyingly low lows in the middle of the night. I have like a safety net because Control IQ comes with a sleep activity on there that I activate at nighttime that helps me not be as low.
Well,
So
and you
that's
also have
hypo and awareness.
hypo and awareness and, like, so that's awesome. Congrats. Like, to be able to have a lower A1C and also not be worried about lows. Yeah,
Mhm.
congrats to you. That's great.
I've been feeling some more of my lows recently, which has been really great. I don't It's a weird thing to say that the other day I was 70 and I felt it and I was just like, "Yes, like, yeah, I feel low. Let me go eat my gummies." So it's pretty good, and I'm just really thankful, but also glad that I have the supplies that I need in case I'm ever too low, like Gvoke and Bexamine and things like that in my back pocket. I'm also on Mounjaro, so that's also been a huge factor, I think.
Okay, so let's talk about it because, right now those types of drugs are kind of in the zeitgeist, right? The celebrities are talking about and tweeting about Ozempic, which is causing shortages for people with diabetes, and um, it's sort of always been the SLG2. Is that what it
Mhm.
is?
Yep.
Are technically off label for type ones, but many type ones are seeing great results from it. So talk about Manjaro because you've tried it before as well.
Yeah, so I tried it in the summer of 2022, so last year's when I started it, and when I first started Mounjaro, I got really, really sick. I was sick for, like, 2 weeks. I lost, like, 25 pounds. It was a little ridiculous at the beginning because it's not that wasn't my goal. I wasn't in it for the weight loss. I just wanted to get more insulin sensitivity and be able to figure out these really stubborn highs and these lows that I was chasing on a diabetes roller coaster. So after the first month of Manjaro, my blood sugar started to really level out and I could really see the benefits of being on it. When I went to Egypt, which was in October, I stopped taking it because I was just like, okay, I'm going to be out of the country. Like, I can't keep up with the prescription with me. So I'm just going to take a break. And the Manjaro still stayed in my system for a good 2.5 weeks until I started noticing, like, first of all, I started gaining a couple pounds here and there that I was just like, okay, this is weird. And then secondarily, I started having more highs. And I was like, oh, does that have to do with insulin resistance? What's going on? So when I came back to America, I got back on my Mounjaro, didn't get sick, kept the same dosage, the point 0.5 that I was on, because it's a once a week shot of point 0.5, and have been great ever since. Haven't lost any more weight, which I'm happy about, but my A1C and my blood sugars have been good. That 85% in range, nobody can take that away from you, babes. Like, that is a good feeling to be like, I have not been dealing with my diabetes wreaking havoc on my
Mm.
life this week. It's just been solid. So that is definitely some mental relief that I can thank Manjaro for. My doctor wants me to go up in dosage to 1.0 because apparently the way these drugs work is you build a tolerance to them.
Hmm.
So the longer you can wait is what was recommended to me, what my doctor said for me. The longer I can wait to go up in the dosage, the better. But if I'm starting to notice that those straight lines aren't as straight anymore, and it's not me that's like causing it, it's not the problem. It's not me. I'm not the problem. Then maybe I need to go up in the dosage, which is what we're going to try next month. I will say to anyone thinking about taking Manjaro, please get hydrated before you do so. Because if you are not hydrated, you will not only stink, you will taste bad. Like, you just are icky. Your mouth
Hmm.
is icky. It's not fun. So definitely that would be like my one advice to anybody thinking about starting an SLG2, SLGT1 is to hydrate, hydrate, hydrate before you even get started because that probably was my downfall at the beginning. So that's what I've learned from Manjaro. But I'm excited to see what else happens. And if I can get to the 5 club, better for me, baby, you know?
Nice. And also I think, like, continue to follow the conversation around SLG. You just said SLG1. So is it
Hmm.
SLG1 and SLG2 inhibitors? And I see you Googling furiously right now. So
Yes.
continue to follow that conversation because it's really important to talk about how using these as a weight loss drug, which can be prescribed by your doctor, is causing shortages for people with diabetes who desperately need these drugs to live the lives that they want to live. So
It is SLG1, but also
okay.
just the thing that people have been saying about them is that you can did you hear this? Like, you can get Ozempic face now if you don't have
I
diabetes. Yeah, it was in the New York Times. It was like people who take Ozempic that don't have diabetes or, like, are just taking it for fun, like, your face gets all, like, mushy, and I was just like, "Oh my god."
Interesting.
I'll have to send you the link, but very interesting conversations happening around these drugs, lots of people taking them, even, like, people like Elon Musk, where you're just kinda like, "Do like, what's the purpose?" But, I mean, I get it, people wanna lose 5 pounds the easy way, I
Sure.
just it's a little icky, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
where we're
I
at
I
with
think,
Ozempic.
and again, though, you guys have the right to choose what drugs you want to live the life that you want. I think, like, everybody's looking for an easy path. I was even looking at, like, uh so Glucose Goddess, who is an account that I really like, and she has a book out. I'd love to have her on the pod at some point. We can just manifest that now. But and also she was talking about the Huberman Lab, who I also really like. There's like a muscle in your calf that if you like stretch it, it can cause like glucose absorption, and like it. So like walking is one of the reasons why like this is some of the physiological response. Again, I am not a scientist. You guys know that, but I was like, man, they were like, yeah, if you did like 20 minutes of like calf raises under your desk, like while you're working, it could cause some glucose absorption. I was like, we will do whatever it takes to not exercise. Like we will look for any way to just like get glucose absorption and benefits of exercise without exercise. So anyway, yeah, that's way off topic, but that was something that I noticed.
Why do we always have to go for a walk? Just do some calf raises. I send me the post. I need it. I
All right,
need that
yeah,
in my
I'll
life.
we will link to the post in the show notes as well. So again, like I'm not questioning the science. I believe it. I believe it's there. But, hop up and go for a walk, do a little exercise. A little micro dose of some squats or some jumps at your work from home desk. Okay, so I know I wanna be sensitive to this because you are a public figure as well, and, living your life publicly, I think it definitely has its drawbacks. You are dating with diabetes, so you're,
Yeah.
meeting new folks and introducing them to your diabetes. How do you go about that?
Okay, so I wanna start off by saying to everyone listening to this who's like, "I thought Eritrea was married." Eritrea is not married anymore. Eritrea got divorced. That's all the tea I'm gonna spill on that. If you want more information, go to my Instagram. But I also wanna say that the reason I found out that you taste bad on Mounjaro is because one of the people I'm dating, I was, like, making out with them, and they were like, what is going on?" Because you this is new. He was like, "This is a new flavor that I'm not used to and I'm not enjoying. So what's going on?" And I just taken my Mounjaro shot like the day before and I just hadn't drank a lot of water that day. And I was like, "Not I have yuck mouth. Like, not diabetes gave me yuck mouth. Like, what the hell?" So dating with diabetes has been really, really weird. I never know. I think because I'm a pumper, it's like first date, they find out. And then
Sure.
also, unfortunately, they're always like, "So what do you do for a living?" Just
Right.
and it's like, I work at Diabetics doing things as a producer, and I have my social media job at Diet Tribe, which I love both. And then it's like all my little freelance jobs, like writing a book with Syra about diabetes and doing blah, blah, blah with diabetes. So it's just like my entire life is diabetes. So it's kind of hard to hide it. And I'm sure it hasn't scared off any guys yet, but who knows, girl? Maybe it's just the sauce. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know.
Hey, if he made it through Mounjaro breath, I mean, what can't they make it through, you know?
I mean, I was so embarrassed, Rob. I wanted to die. Like, there's just not something you can go through when you're married, right? 'Cause I feel like if your partner and you're married to them, like they smell, you're just like, ew, okay, get out of my face. But it's not like I'm gonna break up with you about it. I'm
Right,
not ever
right.
gonna go on a date with you again. So,
You
dating
know,
with
don't
diabetes,
start, like, really
weird.
deeply thinking about, "Am I dating a person who has terrible breath? Like, should I get out of here?"
Does she brush her teeth? And then that's the thing he said. He was like, I know you have really great hygiene, so I'm just very confused. I wanted to end my life. I wanted to end it. Just, but anyways,
Well, thank you for
I don't.
giving us the behind the scenes look. I think that's a really important thing to talk about. There are definitely people who are listening to this podcast who are dating with diabetes, or parents of people who are wondering what to talk about when their kids are going on dates for the first time. So, good stuff.
Just be prepared. I always tell them about my G book. I actually had something happen last year when I went to Miami, where one of the guys I was dating at the time, he had to like administer my G book. So I would say that that's probably the thing is, and something we've talked about on the podcast before is having support wherever you're at. So like if you're gonna go on longer than just a 1 to 2 hour date with this person, like they need to know that maybe there might be a situation where they might need to help you. So
Yeah, like hiking, or, people playing pickleball, or whatever you're dating, or you're going drinking, all those things are important when you're, living a life with diabetes.
And ask questions. That's what I do. Like when you know how it's like, oh, how should I dress for this date? I need to know if I need to bring home how many juice boxes does Eritrea need to bring to this because we are not gonna be out here struggling while we're going on a hike. Like that's not me. But yeah,
Well,
dating
speaking of ask
diapers.
questions, though, speaking
Yeah.
of questions, I think this is a really great transition because we did this before on Instagram and we had kind of mixed results in terms of like gathering the stories and like, the expiration of the question box and screenshotting and sharing the stories again. Anyway, we love a mailbag. And my favorite podcast is the Ryan Russillo podcast, and they do life advice at the end of every episode. And it's my favorite segment of the podcast, even though I like the sports stuff. Just I listen for life advice. So we are going to adopt on the Robin Eritrea show the mailbag. And so we now have the official submission process. If you want to submit a question to Robin Eritrea, we're going to put this on Instagram. It's mailbag at diabeticsdoingthings.com. We've given it a full email address. It's very official. So mailbag at diabeticsdoingthings.com. I'll plug that at the beginning of every mailbag segment. So ask your questions there. You're looking for what do you ask? What do you submit? Anything that you want to know from myself or Eritrea, anything that we've talked about on the podcast, anything that you just want to know about a life with diabetes, any curiosities, or if anything that you want advice on, send it to mailbag at diabeticsdoingthings.com. So we've gathered up, we've scraped together the last of the mailbag responses from 2022 when we were asking and soliciting them on Instagram. So we're going to go through and talk about a couple of them. But on this show, every month, we will do a mailbag segment and dedicate that to the end of the segment on the Robin Eritrea show. So that is our mailbag plug. And here we go with our mailbag responses from 2022. So this first one, there were a few, you guys were wanting to know some travel questions and wildest travel stories. So we had posted a prompt for you guys to share our wildest travel stories. So I will share mine. I have shared this on the podcast before, but in 2015, I went to Japan by myself. And that was like a thing that I wanted to do on my bucket list was go on a trip to Japan alone, which is from a John Mayer song. And I know I'm the worst. Um, so anyway, I put that on my list of things and I was in Kyoto and I had like one of the best days of my life. It was an incredible, incredible day taking the bullet train, the Shinkasa from Tokyo to Kyoto. And I was at the Arches, which is like the number one on every like a travel site, a TripAdvisor or whatever. Arches in Kyoto is like the number one thing to do in Japan. It sure is. It is amazing. You got to go do it. But I thought that it was like this like really simple like hill climb, like a short little hike. Turns out it's like a mile and a half from like the temple all the way up to the top. It's a beautiful little hike. It's not difficult, but it is strenuous. And so I, was climbing up and I was on my pump at the time was the Medtronic Paradigm Revel 550. Shout out. Looks like a pager. Still got it. I use it as a backup just in case. Still works. Man, that thing is bulletproof. Love it. Shout out. And I was feeling sweaty and I was feeling lightheaded and my hands were kind of shaky at the top of the temple once I got to the top. So I tested my blood sugar and it was like 45. I'd already eaten all my snacks. I had no like stuff with me. So yeah, so you have that kind of panicky moment. Well, I look in Japan, one of the things that you learn is that there's vending machines literally everywhere. So here I am at the top of this temple, like a mile away from the train station, and I turn to the right away from the Fox God and I see a Coke machine. So that Coke machine saved me and I was able to get that Coke machine, my Coke right up there, no problem. Sat down on the steps of the Fox God, drank it, and we're good to go. So
Thank
that's my wildest travel story. Got real lucky. Don't recommend it, but yeah, that was my travel story.
thank you, Fox God. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
for sure. Definitely like took a stop at the little altar, like burned some stuff, like made a little offering. So you shout out the Fox God looking out for me.
Okay, I'm gonna tell mine really quick. So this was in September. This happens to be all the time also, but this is in September of or June of last year. August of last year. I was drinking tequila in the pool in Puerto Rico, and my sensor, like my Dexcom sensor, got unsticky, and I lost it. And I was just like, okay, my sensor's lost. It's in the pool. I am in another country. How? Because the thing is, with Dexcom, you can't that transmitter. You can only get one once every 6 months. So I was like, "Oh my god, like, how am I gonna get a new one?" The next day, I went down to the pool and I asked the bartender, she was like, "Oh, it looks like something stuck to the floor right there." And my Dexcom, which would not stick to my arm, was stuck to the floor, transmitter and all. And I ripped that baby
Wow.
off, got in a new sensor and put it on. And I was like, thank you. I looked at the sky and said, thank you. You got me. Like,
Sometimes it works out. I love it.
it'd be like
It's the
that.
Fox God looking out.
But some people sent in their responses, and I'm gonna say this girl's name because she works with me. Shout out Julie Heverly. She's the head of the Time and Range Coalition and just an incredible person at Diatribe. But her story was that she had to remove her pants in 2019 in a private screening at the airport because her CGM was on her leg. And I cannot can first of all, think about the time that adds to your flight. Like if you're already running
Hate
late,
that. Already hate that. Yeah.
it's just like, why am I being targeted? Why have I been selected for this? Like, I would
Well,
be
I think
indignant.
too, like that, those moments are like where diabetes feels really overwhelming and you feel very othered and you feel very like singled out. And so, man, Jules, oof, that's tough. Hate those private
Hate
screenings.
to see
They
hate that that happens.
seem very public. Also, hiking on insulin told us that they were held at gunpoint at an Ohio rest stop because their MDI was drugs. So
So
this is just
someone thought their insulin pen was drugs.
or it was I assume it was syringes because like, syringes, the
That's
orange
fair.
cap, everybody feels like they're drugs. So, man, diabetes sometimes does get in the way. You gotta explain those things under duress. That's always
But
tough.
I mean, at gunpoint, like, I just can't imagine someone being that perplexed about my drug usage. Like, why do you care so much? Like,
Abolish gunpoint, first of all. Just terrible. Just terrible to be at gunpoint at any time.
just flagging people out here for no reason. And
Mhm.
and then Roseanne Amy told us that airport security in South Korea once confiscated all of her supplies, which is a situation that absolutely terrifies me and why I Eritrea keep a supply bag in my backpack and one in my check bag. Because you ain't about to take everything from me. Like,
Right.
no,
You keep
no
that thing
way.
on you.
You have to. I gotta
Mhm.
survive. Like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do? I can't imagine. I would love to know how that situation resolved itself. Roseanne Amy, and I'm
And
glad
I
that
think
is.
also though, like all these are kind of travel related. Like people are, yeah, it's airport security, it's private screenings, it's TSA, it's explaining things to people. You know, still go to the places, experience stuff because whether it's your local police department not knowing about your multiple daily injections or it's your local airport security, like everybody has to get educated about diabetes at some point. And look at you spreading awareness for diabetes, one
You're the
person at a
one.
time. Look at you being the change.
Today today is your day. You are him. You are her. Do it.
So that those were the travel stories. The next one is a fun one. I think we get a lot of these online, especially from the bots. Shout out the cure bots. But what's the weirdest diabetes cure you've heard of? And some of these I had never heard of. So shout out to everybody who put them in. So 1 kilogram of mango was
I
was perpetuated as a cure, which I find is silly.
Mango has a lot of carbs and sugar, so it's just like, do they think that DKA and death is the cure? Like, if you just stop existing, you
Well,
won't
it's like
have diabetes?
I know there are celery warriors. So hopefully there's no like mango like crazies out there who are gonna come for us. But yeah, I don't think mango cures anything. I do love mango. Love a mango for a low blood sugar, but 1 kilogram of mango is quite a bit.
I love a Asian mango. If you ever get a chance, those are the best ones.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
Pakistani mangoes, the best mangoes. Also, I have a celery warrior, so I take that as a derogatory comment. I think celery juice is really good for you. We can
I
talk
it
about
is.
that
I mean,
later.
there's it's clearly it's very good. But yeah, the celery warriors. All right, I didn't know. They walk among us, celery warriors. There, you never know.
We're hidden. We're here in the shadows. Chronic superhuman, our dear friend Eric, also
Eric
a
Dutcher,
Dallasite. I hope you're surviving to Alaska, Eric. Shout out to you. But he said that he'd heard of breath work being a diabetes cure.
somebody said.
And
I do love breath work. Breath work is good for you. I think it's but again, not a cure.
can't restart your pancreas.
We had a keto diet in here. Anna said that there's a keto diet. Yeah, for sure heard that. No carb is low carb, bro. Yeah, but you're still gonna need that insulin for sure. And also, there's a lot of keto folks that follow the podcast. I've done a little bit of like keto adjacent stuff in the past. It can be good for you, low carb, but your Bernsteiners out there, low carb does help, especially early on with diabetes if you're trying to keep that time and range really dialed in, but not a cure. Still gonna need that insulin.
I've
And keep
I've
an
heard
eye
it's
out
good for
for
your brain.
euglycemic decay. Yeah, some people say. Many have said.
When you have diabetes, like, it's good for your brain. I don't know. I'd have to do more research about it, but I know a friend who went keto because she said it was good for your brain. And I was just like, oh, great. Let me know how that goes.
Yeah, I think what you'll
Um,
find is like there's just most people are like somewhere in the middle, like taking keto principles and like eating some good fats and stuff like that. But yeah,
I guess I
the
just can't imagine eating like bacon fat for like just as an entire meal or like
I
an
used
egg.
to put a
Like,
whole stick of butter in my coffee in the morning. I used to do that.
are
And
you
as recently as
kidding?
like 5 years ago. But yeah, like and then I realized like, man, like 1,000 calories in my coffee, like with MCT oil and butter before noon every day is probably like, not great. So
A
anyway,
whole
I
stick of
stopped
butter?
doing it.
I'm disgusted by you. Let's get to the next answer, which is also disgusting.
Yeah, so this one is like to drink your own urine was the cure. And I know like so that used to be a way they tested for diabetes back in the day, because it was like you had sweet urine. Like that it was like that was like one of the ways that they described diabetes scientifically back in the day. It was like sweet urine or whatever. So interesting that that is it. Um, no, urine is will not cure your diabetes, but it is sterile. And if you like the taste, if for all of you dodgeball fans out there, that's a very fun. Is it
I
necessary? Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine? Yeah. Shout out Rip Torn, R.I.P.
It's ridiculous. I just
This
can't.
though is my favorite one, and I know I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry. This one is my favorite one because I am guilty. My wife is a bit that I do is when she's sick, I'm like, sickness is a mindset. Sickness is a mindset. So this
Oh
person,
my god.
Prickly Pear, said that the cure that they were sold was if you truly believe it will go away, it will go away, which I wish was
That's
true. I so wish was true, but
if anybody could do it, it'd be you, Rob. You could just sit there
the
and
power of positive thinking, baby, manifest that cure. No, unfortunately, that will not do it. Uh, All right, so that's the mailbag. That is our previous questions that we had. So again, send your life advice with diabetes requests to mailbag at diabeticsdoingthings.com, and we will choose our favorites for the show. So
oh my god. Juicy questions. All the Rob Thirst fans, please come through. I can't wait. Like, I'm just gonna sit there in the inbox, like, what is happening and what embarrassing question can we ask Rob this month?
oh wow, okay, well put me on blast with the mailbag at Diabetics Doing Things. This has been the first episode of the Rob and Eritrea Show. First, I guess technical first episode. We've done this before, but 2023 we're going to do one of these a month, and really excited to keep you guys in the loop with what's going on with us. So signing off, I'm Rob Howe.
I'm Eritrea Musa. Bye.